Welcome to the Inside Out podcast. I'm Michelle, a life design coach, nutritional therapist, leader in Run Fitness, and the host of the Inside Out podcast, bringing wisdom and experiences from inspirational people, fellow entrepreneurs, and from within my own life journey, supporting you around the globe to elevate your health and well-being and achieve the life you want to achieve. This week, I am grateful to have the opportunity to talk with Julie Garrido, founder of Yourself Yoga. Julie specialises in yoga and holistic well-being to combat the symptoms of menopause. For years, Julie suffered from crippling joint pain and hot flushes, anxiety, fatigue, and brain fog that left her emotionally drained. Julie then found solace in yoga and has grown to serve her true purpose and support other women accessing yoga benefits online, as well as hosting several retreats, understanding that everyone's journey is unique and individual. So without further ado, I am having a warm welcome to Julie. Welcome, Julie, to Inside Out podcast.
Thank you so much. That all sounds rather grand. I can't believe that's me you're talking about.
So for all our listeners, could you share with us a little bit more about your menopause journey and your first experience of yoga and how obviously it all came about that you developed Yourself Yoga?
Sure. So I reckon maybe mid-40s when looking back, because at the time I don't think we realised, or certainly I didn't, many other women, who I've spoken to say the same. And you start to kind of put things together. And it was the crippling, and I say crippling, I'm not exaggerating, the toe pain, getting out of bed in the morning, like hobbling to the bathroom. It hurt so much. Hip pain, lying in bed at night, hip pain, stiff hips during the day. And this anxiety, this feeling that I'd never had before, never been an anxious person. And brain fog. I was running my own business, ran it from the age of 27 for many years. And I had to be on it, in meetings, and I was forgetting things. And then I was getting anxious, thinking someone's going to ask me this, and I don't know it, I can't remember. So it was all these little things, well, not little, but all these things kind of going off at the same time. And I went to the doctors, and I remember asking her, why would I feel this way? I feel really, really anxious. And I remember this was at the end of the consultation, and she was just, oh, it sounds like you have a lot on. And there was no mention of it. And I felt really cheated because this was a female GP and she was my age. And then on another occasion, and this time I was living in the States, and I saw a doctor there and asked about hip pain. I think I've got a problem with my hips. The pain is really bad. Is it like arthritis? Like, what do you think it is? Bearing in mind, super fit my whole life, swimming, that was my passion. And, they sent me off for x-rays. And of course, there was nothing wrong with them. And she just said, it was a she again, and she just said, oh, maybe you need to move more, stretch a little more. There was no mention of perimenopause or loss of estrogen in the joints or all the things we now know about. Nothing. So that was how I began. That was my kind of beginnings of my menopause. And I really ended up in a miserable place with it all because I felt like I wasn't me, and I couldn't function in the same way. And you spiral then, you get really miserable about it. No one understands you. And the yoga thing was just a sheer coincidence. I had been told not to swim anymore because I kept getting repeated ear infections. I'm talking 30, 40 years of swimming. And one was really, really bad. And the doctor said, maybe, might be better if you stay away from the pool. I was swimming daily, fanatical. And that hit me really hard. Like, what would I do? I have no idea. I don't like running. What would I do? Oh my gosh. So, but my husband had always wanted to try yoga. And he said, would you do it with me? Like go to a class, or we'll get someone to come to the house. It might help you. It might relax you. It might make you feel better. And I was like, I don't need to relax. I can't sit still. I'm one of those people, I have to be on the go. And I had an image of yoga, of sitting very zen-like, very peaceful, not really doing much. So I gave it a go. It was a disaster. I was absolutely hopeless. The first pose, the sitting pose where you sit cross-legged, because I got such tight hips, my knees were like pyramids stuck up, right? And I'm looking at this yoga teacher, and hers was like open out, flat to the floor. Like, how do you do that? So I was like frustrated but intrigued. And then at the end of that first session, it was only an hour, I was like, oh my God, I feel so good. I feel so different. I couldn't explain it. And he was looking at me saying, did you enjoy it? And I said, how do you feel? And he said, I feel amazing. So we started to do it weekly, and it was like, oh my God, I could see then a pattern. The hips didn't hurt as much. When I got up in the morning, put my feet on the floor, it didn't hurt. And it was like, and I feel lighter, better, just, yeah, more like me. So I started doing little bits by myself, and then I started putting everything together, thinking, hang on a minute, this is helping menopause symptoms. No one's ever told me about this. I need to find out. You started looking, this was like 5, 6 years ago, nothing really available. Nothing available. How can that be? So I was like, right, that is it. I'd planned on selling my business after 30 years. And I went and joined a teacher training program with the mission of, if no one else is going to do it, I'm going to do it. And that's how it all began.
I think that's beautiful. And I mean, I resonate with an awful lot of what you've said. And I'm only slowly, obviously, getting into the yoga side. But I'm 45 and I'm menopausal. Like you, I'm an athlete. So I got into running. So not swimming, running. I don't mind swimming if I'm somewhere in a very hot country. And work full time. And I just was like, it just was really, really strange. And this is such a common story that we find with women. And all of a sudden, I just was like, God, my body really aches. And I was like, oh, this is just down to your training, Michelle. You're training too much.
Yeah.
And then I would be really tearful. And I'm like, get a grip, Michelle. Why are you tearful? Or I'd get anxious. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. You know, all the things that you're saying, you're there. You're like, well, I haven't got time for this. You know, I've got 2 small children. I've got to train. My husband trains. You know, what is wrong with me? And I just would then freak out and start like at work, and I'll be like, this is ridiculous. And I really took a nosedive. And it's like you don't know. So obviously, like yourself, you go to a doctor and the first thing they ask you is, well, you've got a lot on. Do you want to go and see a counsellor? Do you think you're depressed?
Yeah.
And it's such a common theme that we're getting up against, because whether or not, you know, before it was very much, I was finding you have to be 50 or 60 to go in the menopause, but now you've got this perimenopause.
Yeah.
And like yourself, you're just going, this is ridiculous. Why? And nobody can give you an answer.
No.
And it's only through women sharing their stories. And there was a sort of like a thing that I just went on, and there was a tracker, a symptoms checker, and I just was listening, and I was like, I've got that, and I've got that, and I've got that. And that's when the penny started to click. But even to now, I'm like, I'm still not, you know, some days are good and some days are bad.
Yeah.
But what's out there for us women? Because you go to the conventional medicine, they're like, here's some HRT.
Yes.
Like, that's
or
nice.
antidepressants. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a fascinating story, and, you know, one that I totally resonate with. And I think it's wonderful that you took it in your own hands. And so you started that, and So how did it grow? Why did you go more online and not sort of?
No, so when I qualified, I started and it's really important when you qualify as a teacher to find your own voice, because we're all taught in the same way. And, you have to find your way of teaching, your style. And I taught privately. I was living in Miami and zooming around, teaching in private homes to women, and gaining my skill, honing my skills, gaining my confidence, and so on. And all the time doing this research, like, how could I do it? I know it works. And the women who I'm teaching privately, they're telling me it's working. How do I like create a business, raise a platform, all these things? And then COVID happened. So it was like, well, the universe is sending me something here. I can't zoom around Miami anymore. I have to teach online. So I was teaching privately online to those who wanted it. I mean, it's a very different thing teaching online. And I thought, this is my opportunity. So I created a Facebook group and started. I had no idea how it would go. Like, would people even be interested? And it was amazing. So many women said, you know what, I'll give it a go. I've always wanted to do yoga, or I used to do yoga, and will it help me? And started educating them, and it kind of snowballed from there. But at that time, when I actually had COVID, I found a wonderful lady based in London, and she had created a course approved by the British Board of Menopause to train yoga teachers how to teach menopause yoga. So the qualifications were, or the conditions were, that you as a yoga teacher had been through menopause. Because how can you teach otherwise if you don't relate to it? You've got that credibility. So and it was online. She was having to do it online, and she more or less just launched it. And I was like, oh my God, this was meant to be. So I took that qualification. There are only 600 of us worldwide qualified to teach menopause yoga, and it's growing. But online is the best way to reach women for two reasons. One, if you think about it, Michelle, a lot of women at this stage become quite withdrawn socially. I had that. I didn't want to go out. I just didn't feel like me. They're also conscious maybe of their body shape and the weight. The last thing they want to put on is tight leggings and rock up in a studio that maybe is teaching yoga that isn't suitable for their body. But they don't know that because they don't understand the different styles of yoga. They get demoralized. They end up, oh, this isn't working. I can't do it. I'm stuck at the back of the class, can't even see the teacher. Whereas what I'm teaching is just do it at home. Do it at home. You don't have to do an hour. Just do 10, 15 minutes in the morning. Roll out your mat. Peace, comfort, privacy of your own home, and follow my program little and often, and you'll start to get the results. And that is how it happened. But also think of online, you've just got such a bigger reach. I've got like members in Australia, New Zealand, America, Europe, and it's incredible, and it's starting to filter through. People are beginning to learn that yoga can help them, that there is another solution. It doesn't have to be HRT. Lots of women can't take HRT, don't want to take out HRT. And the lady who approved the menopause teacher training course on the British Board of Menopause is Louise Newsom. And she's a big advocate for menopause, obviously, but for HRT. But she's a yoga. She practices yoga, and we had a seminar with her. She was amazing. Now, she has, in conjunction with others, set up a program where they're educating doctors more about menopause. Because I think in the 7 years of training, a doctor only has 1 week on menopause. Well, if you're a male, it's even harder, isn't it? So, yeah, it's starting to happen, but it's got a long way to go. So.
Yeah, I've actually listened. I think Louise has got podcasts herself. And
Yes.
I started, yes, and I started, and she, I think, if I remember rightly, is a doctor herself, and
Yes.
then has moved into this, and 100%, you know, and gosh, talk about the universe and the opportunity
Yeah.
to increase that education. Just to quickly sort of flip back, because, and this is totally fascinating, sorry, I get very excited about is you've talked about menopause is unique to individuals.
Mm.
And I think that's really important because it is very different. It's a very unique experience. As you know, your experience is different to my experience, will be
Sure.
different to somebody else's. The general theme of it is obviously, you know, and bits that I've done and stuff is your nutrition, is strength training, is exercise, and mind, body, and soul, and meditation. And that's what I do, is I coach people sort of more about the mind, body, and soul, and then nutrition. But how do you adapt your yoga to meet those individual needs? Or is that you've done a sort of generic, the 10 minutes a day or whatever, and then you offer those sort of programs? Or is the online community you've created where it is actually individualized?
So it's kind of in two ways. The first way is that menopause yoga is, so there's lots of styles of yoga, and menopause yoga is made up of several styles. That's the beauty of it. No one style of yoga can tick all those symptoms, can tick all those boxes, right? There are days when we wake up and we have no energy. Maybe we've been up with night sweats, we haven't slept, or anxiety, and we don't have the energy to do much. So you need something really slow. There are or you can't get to sleep, so you need some style of yoga to help you sleep. And then there are days when those who suffer with joint pain need some kind of yoga to help with joint pain. So there's a style of yoga for that. And then there are days when you are just so overwhelmed, fatigued, or riddled with anxiety, you need a style of yoga for that. So menopause yoga is beautiful because it encompasses these different styles. And going back to public classes where you might go to a yoga class, who knows what style you're going to get? It could be completely wrong for you. So it's very sensitive to how all these ups and downs that we're going through and how we may feel. And I'm not saying over a period of time, I'm saying within 24 hours, because you can wake up feeling one way and then by the end of the day end up feeling something completely different. Um, but all my yoga is categorized according to symptoms. So it's how you feel. So you'd open my app and say, oh my God, my hips are killing me. I need a sequence for hips. Yeah, so they can tailor it to suit how they're feeling. Or I feel so stressed. I feel so overwhelmed. I just need to let go. And I just want to shut the door on the world. And there's a soothing sequence for that where you literally, I teach less is more. Don't move. Yeah. If you haven't got the energy, yoga doesn't have to be movement. You can do restorative yoga, which supports the body in such a way that you can completely let go, mind and body, and just melt. Yeah. Because even when we're watching Netflix, sat on the couch, or we're in bed trying to get to sleep, we're never really, really letting go. And
No.
restorative yoga is just targeting the nervous system, bringing everything down. So, no, it's beautiful. So it can be very, very individual. But here's the thing. I know from experience when you say, oh, here's the menu, you can have anything you want. People never know what to choose, or
Yeah.
they always choose what they did last time because they enjoyed it or it felt really good and it felt easy. So I also have calendars, a calendar that they can follow because otherwise they don't get that variety. We tend to stick to the same things. So it can be individual, or you can follow a calendar whereby you're working all these different styles of yoga, you're ticking all the boxes for all the parts of the body and the nervous system. So yeah, it's a beautiful blend. It's wonderful to be able to tailor it.
Now kind of interesting for myself and probably for many other women that are athletes as well, because for me, I've got joint pain, I've got hip pain,
Yeah.
and I've got this constant at the moment nagging, which I think is like a nerve pain, and it's real deep. And so I'm going, but I just need to go out for my run. My run is kind of like my mental side of things before I become mum, work, coach, whichever role, purpose I'm playing that day. So I kind of just go, I'm going out. And I found I have lost a lot of my speed. But that could be the amount of training. But what I'm focusing on is I keep on trying to do the yoga to stretch. And it's only now that I'm coming into the thought of going, well, this is not going well. It's not getting any better. And it's then going, is it related to something else? So then I thought, well, is it your body telling you that you're anxious, Michelle, or that you are fearful, or you're not letting go? There's something that's blocking it. And then there's me, like many women of our age are very much, they're still on the fast-paced treadmill of life, and they're going, okay, what's the next quick fix? So let's go and get a bit of an acupuncture. And so I'm quite intrigued when you're saying this calendar.
Yeah, so one of the styles in menopause yoga is yin yoga. So all yoga's Indian and yin is Chinese. And yin yoga works on meridian lines that run through the body, like acupuncture. And the thing is, like with, say, the hip joint, I mean, women carry all the stress in the hips. So unknowingly, if you're in stress mode, fight or flight mode, you don't know, but you're clenching your hips, you're holding them. Well, because your breathing like speeds up, everything, and your hips clench because you're ready to go. Yeah, you're ready to fight. So, and it can become a default state. But in addition to that, this stage of life, there's a loss of estrogen, and think of all the tissues drying out. So it reduces that mobility in the hips. It's like losing collagen in the skin. It's just drying out. The tissues are becoming dry and brittle, and that affects the joints. It impedes mobility. It causes discomfort, and it can even cause pain. I had pain with it. Yin yoga is a passive yoga where you will do a hip pose and you hold it for 5 minutes. Okay. And it's hard, it's quite challenging. It's not painful, it's uncomfortable, and it's learning to sit with the discomfort. But here's the thing, right? The tissues eventually will start to just give. It's like wearing an orthodontic brace. It doesn't move your teeth overnight, right? It's like a gentle pressure, and the tissues that are dry and brittle will start to yield and soften, and you get this release around the joint. You find people who've had surgery, people who've had women who've had cesareans, yeah, they find the cores really weak because you've been sliced open.
Yeah.
And it's like, when you've had a tear in a garment, like a shirt, and you try to mend it, it never goes flat again. So the tissues buckle, and yin works to soften them. And it's amazing. A lot of athletes, top athletes, use yin yoga because of that, because it's stretching the tissues. We used to believe the body was made up of bones and organs, and then they now know that it's this spider's web of connective tissues, and they wrap around ligaments and muscles and joints. Well, if they're compounded in any way, like I spent 30 years at a desk, so my hip flexors were tight, yeah? So lifestyle, it could be, or not drinking enough water, hydrating the tissues, and losing estrogen. So you end up with all this discomfort. But that's why in menopause yoga, you've got yin yoga, restorative yoga, vinyasa yoga. I include yoga nidra for sleep as well. You've got all these different remedies to sort out your issues. So a 5-minute pose in the evening, Michelle, would help you would see a difference in your joints just by doing that.
Which, I mean, this is kind of what I was going to come on to talk to you about. And first, I suppose, really, for somebody that is listening to this, going, what advice would you give menopausal individuals who are new to yoga considering joining your class? What sort of like, would you just go, it's very specific because you've got these different styles, you know? How would you introduce somebody, I suppose, to start off with, to yoga, who are considering it and really at their end of their tether?
If they've never done it before, I wrote a guide, a beginner's guide, which I'll share the link with you. And that literally just tells you what mat to buy, when's best to practice, how to set up your space, how to approach it. And, you know, and it's like, be realistic, manage your expectations. If you're like me, you might be a disaster in the beginning. You know, we expect to run a marathon before we've done the jog. And, you know, you've got to work at it. So a beginner's guide to introducing you to like some of the fundamentals, but then it's just you know, starting with you can either start my program and be guided through it, or just choose to follow any of my yoga and do your own thing. But just choosing sequences that will help you. So what is it you're struggling with most? Is it joint pain? Is it anxiety? Okay, do some of these. Yeah. And just play around, get a feel for it. Um, which is why I launched my YouTube channel, so that I have more of a public presence so people can go on. I think, to be honest, one of the most important things, I think you have to like the person, the teacher. You have to have, you, you know, I have teachers whose voices really resonate with me. I like the way they explain things, or and there are certain public figures who are really high up in the yoga world who I don't relate to, because they're not talking in my language for my body, or they're just making it too complex or too spiritual. And I think you need to find someone that fits you. So, you know, it's important to make sure, because otherwise it's like a teacher at school, isn't it? You learn better when you like the teacher. And I think that's an important thing as well, is to, you know, make sure you're happy with the yoga that you're doing and the person who's teaching it. I was always reprimanded in teacher training for explaining too much, but I believe that you learn more better when you understand why. You know, like I've explained the joint pain to you and how it works. I think you have a better understanding then, and you're more eager to do it because it's like, wow, so that's what it does. Okay, I'm going to give it a go. Whereas when it's just thrown at you with no explanation, I think sometimes it just seems a bit intimidating.
I think
So
that's quite key, because there are some people in the world, you know, you have your concrete authority and you just go with it. And then there's empaths like me and creatives like myself and yourself, where you're just going, well, why is that? And you
yeah,
question the systems. And, you know, having a bit of that knowledge, like I have a degree in physio and, you know, a diploma in nutrition and life coach. And I go, well, actually, if I explain to you the reason why in simple terms, you get a better understanding. And I think that's
yeah,
really, really important. And the connection is
yeah,
important, because it's when you connect with somebody on a higher frequency,
yeah,
you are then going, yeah, I'm okay to do this. You know, and you have that support network, because you know you can come back to yourself and say,
yeah,
I'm just really, this is just not working. Why is it not working? And you've got that confidence, which is very hard when you go to a class, as you say, and you've got 20 other people. And
hmm,
it's really, and I find the online and having that connection, and certainly the one thing the pandemic did do was, you know, increase the use of Zoom and other means of
yeah.
talking and communicating, that I just feel that connection can be increased. Um, Interesting enough, though, I mean, is there a particular time of day that you would say people should try and focus on? I mean, most of my clients, I'm a morning person. Okay, I get up at 10 to 5, and I'm like do a stretch, and then I go out for my run, and I'm back before my kids are out of bed, and I've got to get them ready for school, and then, you know, all of that side of things. My husband is different. He is quite a very night person and will later. Is there any particular time that you recommend to do yoga?
First of all, I always say that yoga has to fit in with you, your body and your life, and don't try and do it the other way around. That being said, mornings are best because the body's been, I never say asleep because a lot of women don't sleep, but the body's been in bed all night and, you know, hasn't been stretched and moved. So it's by far the best way to wake up the body because you stimulate all the organs, you stretch out the spine. The spine links to all the organs. Your digestive system gets boosted. Everything starts to move, to work, and you find that mental calm, and you take charge of the day rather than the day taking charge of you. So, and you've got that boost of endorphins, of course. So, but you know, there are styles of yoga, like I've mentioned, like yin, and also restorative, where you're calming anxiety and you're calming the nervous system. They're actually best practiced in the evening because you don't want to be sat practicing one of those and then have to get up and, you know, and start doing a really busy day because you've slowed the energy right down. Yeah, you've gone into this kind of passive state. So then it's a jolt to the nervous system to get back up and start rushing around and doing a school run or whatever. So certain styles of yoga will dictate it. There's no hard and fast rules. But mornings are best. But I say if you can't do mornings, it's fine. Find what works for you. Some women do lunch times in the lunch breaks. If they're working from home, they'll roll a mat out at home. Some women do evenings as like a watershed when they get in from work, you know, before they do dinner and so on. So, yeah, it's finding what works for you, and that's, you know, trial and error.
And obviously, I'm very much a holistic approach. And despite what type of person you are, I sort of say in the morning you get up, cleanse like your body, which is hot lemon and ginger. And then take a moment to breathe, ground yourself, set the intention. But even if it is, you're just moving by doing 10 jumping jacks, if that's all you can do, or you're going and you're just walking up and down the road. Okay, doing some sort of flow, because then it starts, as you say, your body's been asleep and you get this flow of energy and stagnation. And actually, from what you've said, yours is like bite size. So actually, 10 minutes in the morning.
10 minutes.
And then you can do it again 10 minutes in the evening if you've got time. But it's just this whole, and we go back to the meridians, it's the whole of the energy flow, which then I think, as you say, stimulates the vagus nerve, calms yourself down, and then you are more prepared for the day. Equally, I prepared for the day, and then things happen, and you can come to the end of the evening and you're just going, I need some sort of release, you know, I need some me time. And I think that's really important. Now, just want to pop back, because you have said previously that you found the menopause yoga that you've done completely helped with your menopause symptoms. And is there, I mean, do you feel, because at the moment, very much there's this, you go to the doctor and it's HRT, all right? But there's also the holistic treatment. Do you think that eventually holistic treatment could actually overtake the conventional, or do you feel that there will be, and with the awareness of doctors increasing that knowledge, so actually the first thing they're not going to do is offer you HRT, and secondly, from my experience, the HRT is not always convenient because they will do you the first one that comes on their book. And so on and so forth.
I think it's a long, long way to go before that happens. I mean, I really hope so. I have to be really careful and really sensitive. I never did HRT, but I have to be sensitive, and I do support it. You know, I'm not against it, and it's a key part of menopause yoga training. Like I say, Louise Newsom, big advocate for HRT, and we had to learn all about it, the side effects, what it does, the longevity of it, what happens when you come off it, and so on. And I would say that probably 75% of my ladies, my members, take HRT, but they want the yoga for what HRT can't give them, because HRT doesn't solve everything. And it's the mental calm, it's the joint pain. A lot of people say it does help with joint pain, but a lot of my ladies need the yoga for the joint pain to release that, get that mobility, fluidity back in the joints. So, yeah, there are sadly very few who do it without HRT. So, but you know, it's had such a big boost in the press. I've actually seen women in some of the menopause groups saying, yeah, so I've been to the doctors to ask for HRT, and I'm not quite sure why, but I just thought I should because everyone else is, right? They think it's like FOMO, like they're missing out if they're not taking it. So it's a long way to go to, say, for something like yoga and other holistic treatments to be on a par with it. But it needn't be one or the other. It can be both. It can just be yoga as well. I believe so. There's sadly there isn't research to prove it. Not yet. Yeah, there's a lot of research to prove it can help individual symptoms here and there, but no one's done the whole 34 symptoms of perimenopause. This is officially what yoga can help with. I'm like a little lonely voice out there, you know, trying to sell it. But I have nothing to back it up with, only my own ladies' stories and my own story. And my ladies will tell you, if they were here, oh my God, it works. You know, it's not just help their symptoms, and this is the thing, it's changed their lives. It's given them back that vitality. It's given them confidence. You know, I've got women coming on my yoga retreats who would never dared have done anything like that before, but it's given them the confidence to want to invest in themselves. And I always said, this chapter, you know, it's the menopause, press pause, reevaluate where you are, and make that next chapter, post-menopause, make it the best one yet. You're the author, write the story, write the script, do it, do whatever you want to do. And I'm seeing them before my very eyes. It's amazing. So
I suppose if we take that concept, like for anything, they need clinical trials and they need people to do it in. So the more you're doing your good work and you're recording it and sharing that story, whether or not that's Instagram, YouTube, podcasts, you know, Facebooks, and then taking that to other people sharing the same story. Have you heard about this? You know, and connecting with some of those influential people. You know, you've got Louise Newsom, but you've also got and I've got complete brain fog. Oh, she was a fitness instructor, did a whole BBC documentary. Yeah. And you kind of go, you can then take that and say, let's work together, let's share our stories, let's spread this. And I think that is how you can then increase the awareness, and you can increase like the knowledge, and your voice becomes bigger because you are a shining light. You've helped so many women, and there's so much more. Which one of my questions was, what is your goal? What's the next thing? What's your vision for 2024 and beyond?
It is to continue what I'm doing, but to widen the net so I can reach more and more women. I founded my 7-stage program, the guided program, 2 or 3 years ago now. And, you know, I've got all the success stories coming through from that. It clearly works. I've just launched my YouTube channel. And I want to really kind of up my PR. So and do more wellness retreats so we can get more women together. And someone said to me the other day, one of the ladies, she's been on every one of my retreats, that this is her annual investment in herself. She won't miss one. She will always do it, because it keeps her going for the rest of the year. It's like a complete restart, like pressing reset. So yeah, love doing retreats and meeting all the members and new faces. Yeah, amazing. So just more of all of that.
Because the retreats and sort of like the holistic and working with partners, I think it's coming into it. I went on my very first spiritual retreat last year, early part of last year.
Did it?
Never done it before. It came up on my Instagram feed, and I thought, oh, it's localish. Let's go for it. And it was a phenomenal experience for me, a phenomenal transforming experience. And now I'm kind of looking and going, right, but you need something that resonates with you. So did you want to just, tell us a bit more about your retreats and, what does it entail? And, what has your attendees come out with it?
So I don't call them yoga retreats. We do yoga. I'm a yoga teacher, and they're all there because of the yoga, but I won't call them yoga retreats because it's not all yoga. It's a wellness retreat. It's coming together to practice yoga, practice meditation, and we do workshops. I do a lot of workshops on mindset, manifestation, self-care. And we did, on the last retreat in Portugal, we did workshops on Ayurveda, which is the ancient Indian, it's like the twin sister to yoga, the philosophy of self-care and health and well-being. So they learned all about Ayurveda and tips for Ayurveda, Ayurvedic treatments and so on, and how to diagnose themselves, what kind of type dosha they are, which is all part of Ayurveda. So they have a better understanding of themselves. So workshops, yoga, meditation, then we have activities, like excursions and so on. But it's starting the day, yoga all together. We do chanting. And like last year, we did it for the first time. And I was like, oh my God, this is either going to be amazing or a complete disaster. And they just loved it. Like they were all chanting, around the dinner table. They couldn't stop chanting. And it's just this unification of like-minded souls. And you realize that, your struggle, everybody's in the same boat. And how amazing to be able to share your stories and then have a wonderful day together. I always do a one-on-one consultation. So they'll do like a quiz and they'll bring it to me and I'll figure out what bits they need to work on most. And then we end the evening with yoga, meditation, maybe a sound bath, outdoors, underneath the stars. Just magical, really magical. And they arrive. I had one lady last year who arrived an absolute nervous wreck off a flight. Couldn't believe she'd flown by herself. Couldn't believe she plucked up the courage to travel without her husband and her kids. And left like just floating on cloud nine. She was like transformed. You could see, she was like, oh my God, this is incredible. But I know when I first went on my retreat, I had zero expectations. I was a bit dubious about it. And it's hard to explain how you feel because it's not really a holiday, but then neither is it hard work. It's just an opportunity to completely, I always say like imagine pulling the plugs out, disconnecting, house, family, responsibilities, work, just pulling all those plugs out. Everybody can manage without you. And you just invest in yourself and just soak it all up. There's massages and treatments and yes. So, and we have 2 retreats in Spain, one sold out, and we have 2 spots left on our Spanish one in April this year. So, and another one to be launched in the UK, a day one. A lot of people don't want to travel or can't afford to travel. So we like to do day ones, a day retreat. And we had this whole, yeah, but what's a day going to do for me? We did the one in Shropshire recently that I know you said you were interested in. Oh my God, the feedback was incredible. That people couldn't believe how they entered the room feeling one way and then left feeling the other way, just through a couple of yoga sessions and workshops, building up confidence and come on, let's do this. So very, very powerful, transformative experiences. Yeah.
That's beautiful, beautiful. So just before we wrap up, it's been very informative and a phenomenal conversation. Is there anything else that you think we haven't covered that you really want to share with listeners?
I would just say this, please don't be like me, because I had a fixed view of yoga based on what? No idea. That it wasn't for me, wouldn't do me any good, not that kind of person. I like to move around, I'm a swimmer, and completely discounted it. And I would say just keep an open mind about everything at this stage of life. If your body's changing and your mind is changing as well, your mindset, well, then shouldn't you change too? So just because you've always done something in a certain way, why can't you change it up and do something different? Maybe your body's telling you it wants something different. So just give it a go. It could be the best thing ever. It's changed my life. It's changed hundreds of other women. Or maybe it could change yours too. So it's just keeping that open mind.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. So, my dear friends and listeners, I hope you have found this show useful in supporting yourself or someone you may know that's going through the menopause. We'd like to spread the word. In the show notes, I will include, Julie, all your contact details. And as we all know, menopause is a holistic journey. So if you can connect with Julie or myself to see and explore what is out there to help you, to support you in growing in the evolution of moving into the menopause world. But like with anything, if you have enjoyed this show, then please like and subscribe to the show, share and follow us on social media. And as always, thank you for listening, making sure that you elevate your health and well-being from inside out to lead the optimized life you wish to lead.